How are y'all?
Good.
Good. Has everyone had their coffee?
How are you?
I'm great. Not as hungover as I thought I'd be last night. My name's Liam O Brien. For anyone who doesn't know in the audience, I'm a voice actor, voice director, and writer. I work in Los Angeles. As an actor, you probably know me best for voicing Gaara in the Naruto series, or Jushiro Kitake in Bleach, and a buttload of other anime. Also in games, you've heard me as War in Darksiders or Illidan in the World of Warcraft. Say again? Archer from Fate's Day Night. I always blank in these situations, but I've probably worked on, as an actor, probably 200 plus animated series or video games by now. I was the voice director on Resident Evil 5, I directed the dubs for Gunsword and Deers, and I sit in and direct on Naruto once in a while. And I've adapted probably like 150 to 200 episodes of anime for English audiences. So that's me. I don't have any kind of presentation planned or anything, but I can talk to you about the process, what we do in LA, how we get stuff ready for you guys to play the bejesus out of it. Does anybody have any questions? Why don't we just kick it off that way, and then I'll just set the ball rolling. We can talk about whatever you want, within reason. Anybody? Sure. My favorite, well, it's hard to pick one. They're kind of like kids, but I can tell you some of my favorites. Gaara is one of my favorites. I got to work on a Naruto game just the week before I left. It had been a little while. I sort of miss the younger 10-year-old murderer now that he's chilled out in his older age of 16 or 17. But I always like returning to Gaara. I love doing Nightcrawler for the animated series Wolverine and the X-Men. And every once in a while, Nightcrawler pops up again in some other Marvel property, and they bring me in to play Kurt. I love him. And I loved StarCraft growing up when I was younger, playing the first one. So I got to take on the Ghost, the Terran Ghost for the revamped version, StarCraft 2. So that was sort of a nerd plus for me. And let me see, favorites. And then also War in the North, Lord of the Rings, War in the North just came out. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings geek. I've read the books probably 3 times through each, and I've seen the movies I don't know how many times. And I got to voice Elrond's twin sons in War in the North recently, so that was a big nerdgasm too. Can I see all the cosplayers in the room? Everyone who's in costume is somebody. Pop up for me so I can see who we got. Is that Rezo?
Zelos from Slayers.
Slayers, right.
Yeah.
We got... Does L carry a lollipop? You do, okay. Does anyone else have any questions? But thank you guys. All right, you may take your seats. Twist at the end. Anybody, what's that thing? That spiky thing. Does it vibrate? All right, somebody talk to me about something because I have not had enough coffee yet today. Anybody have any questions? Right there. How am I war? Yeah, I'm a skinny, spindly little geek, right? I don't know how it's happened. Somehow in the last couple of years, Hollywood voiceovers decided, the game world has decided that I'm a football player. I'm used to playing sort of wieners and cowards and stuff. I started in the theater, so I don't know, but I can do stuff on mic that I can't do. If I were to take this away, there's no way I could sound like Thor, but with a good quality mic in a studio, if they turn it up and I talk very quietly, then I can't even really do it on this mic. But there's tricks that you can do with your voice on mic. So there are a couple other games coming out in the next year or so where you're going to hear me being deep again. And I don't know, high school aged Liam doesn't believe it either, if he only knew. Anybody else? Second to last row back there.
How did you get into voice acting?
Okay, I can answer that one. I started as an actor, and 98% of us who do the voice acting started as just an actor in general. I got into it in high school. I was hiding from football players, wandered into the drama club, decided that's what I wanted to do, scared my parents that I was going to be an actor, went to New York City, did theater for years, struggling artist, all that. And how many people in the room know Crispin Freeman's name in here? Voiced Alucard, a billion things in anime. He's the Itachi, right? Crown Prince of Anime. And sometime in the late 90s, he and I were doing a four-man version of Romeo and Juliet. He was the nurse to my Juliet. I know. And he would show up. I mean, he's sort of like this presence in the anime voiceover world now, but at that point, he'd really only been doing it for a year, and he would show up every day with a different anime t-shirt on. He really was geeking out on it. And like, after the fifth or sixth day, finally, I said, "Hey, isn't that the little rock dude from Mononoke?" And he's like, "Oh, yes, yes." And he then started to vomit anime information on me. And he had all this anime with him in his room that they put him up in. And he was just starting, some of you might have heard of his anime mythology panels that he does. He talks about like the hero with 1,000 faces and how anime plugs into that, you know, the hero's journey. And he was just getting started on that. Anyway, I'm digressing. After we did the play, we got back to New York, and he just called me up and said, some of the people that I've done some anime dubbing for are having auditions. Do you want to go? And I wandered in. I auditioned for a series called Boogie Pop Phantom. Anybody? Yeah? One guy? Great. And they took a chance on me. I'm a director now, so I know that when you're casting new people at an anime, it's a tricky thing to do. You have to, it's like doing good William Shatner acting on command instead of bad Shatner acting, because you have to be believable. You have to start when the flappa flappa starts, pause when the flappa flappa stops, and, you know, fit it in there and not sound like a robot. So you generally, if you find someone who's good, who's new, you're like, all right, I'll start them off as Soldier B. But they gave me a pretty juicy part in that, and it sort of snowballed as much as it could in New York, which is not that much because there's not that much VO in New York. I moved to LA, and it just went, and I'm in. I can't get out. I don't want to get out. But basically every week I get to play in a different sandbox as an actor or a writer or director. Just finished up. I've been directing voiceover on a game all year. I can't tell you what it is. You definitely know what it is. And I'm looking forward to being an actor, because it's, unless I'm yelling "grenade, get down," it's a hell of a lot easier than directing. We do a lot of yelling "grenade, get down" now these days. Anybody else? Right here. Oh wait, could you and everybody else just project your voice a little bit more? I'm having trouble hearing everybody. One more time. Oh, cool. Welcome to the Oprah Winfrey Show. You get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car.
In Naruto Shippuden, when Gaara's death came about, how did that make you feel?
One more time. When Gaara and Shippuden.
In Naruto Shippuden,
yeah,
when Gaara's death came about, how did that make you feel?
Oh, sad. But I had read ahead, so I knew that it wasn't permanent. Sorry, spoilers. I love Naruto. I mean, I came on Gaara shows up in episode 20-ish, you know, in the original series, and I was definitely an anime fan, and I was definitely trying to get into as much anime work as I could, but I didn't know really anything about Naruto. And through episodes, the 70s, where he turns into the giant cookie dough raccoon, it was still just an acting job. I really loved the role, but I didn't know much about it. And then they started tapping me to adapt the translations into, you know, workable English dialogue that matched the flap. And then I started directing. So then I started reading from 1 all the way through into the future. And I love the show. I really do. It's just so rich, and maybe not the filler. Rich and textured, and the characters are great, and I've just fallen in love with it. Favorite characters? Who were your favorite characters in the Naruto series? Kiba? Sasuke. Sasuke. Come on. That's the obvious choice. Mine's Naruto. Anybody else? Yeah, I see you there. Mario. Now do it in a high-pitched falsetto, please. Oh, I don't know if that mic's on. Okay.
Just check the bottom of there.
Yeah, it's on. Yeah. It's me, Mario. Thank you, Victoria.
My question is, Crispin Freeman once said that voice acting is more of a business and not a job. Would you agree with this statement, or do you have something else in mind?
I'm trying to decide what that means. More of a business, not so much a job?
Well, that's what he said in one of his podcasts.
Well, he knows what he's talking about generally. I don't want to contradict him. I mean, it's a business for the people who are producing it. Maybe he meant, I don't know, I haven't listened to that podcast. I have listened to the first couple of his podcasts because he's such a sharp guy, but I haven't listened to that one. Maybe he means you can't make a full-on career of being, I mean, you heard the whole podcast, so chime in, but was he talking about how you can't make a full-on career voicing anime?
No, it's just that he would be more asked on how can I get into the job of voice acting, and he would explain that it's a business, not a job.
Not a job. This is my brain farting. I'm not exactly sure what he means by that. Well, maybe what he's talking about is that to get into it, oftentimes we get asked, how do I get in? How do I get into the business? I'm not exactly sure how I did it. It was kind of like falling down the rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland. But you can't get in just off of love of anime. And I know that because I tried. I'm a geek. I was a geek as a teenager, and I went to acting school. And while I was at acting school in New York University in New York, I loved anime. I was watching a lot of anime, and I thought, oh man, maybe I can use this theater thing. I'll get into it. And there was a company called Central Park Media that did DNA Squared and Revolutionary Girl Lieutenant and a handful of others. They're no longer around. But they were there, and I sent them a letter going, oh my god, I'm in acting school, and I love anime, and I love this, and I love that, and I'm the biggest fan of this, and I never heard anything. Because they were, and people still do get, letters from fans saying, I'm the biggest Dragon Ball Z fan, I've seen every episode, can I come and voice act? And they're looking for actors, so maybe that's what he meant. That you have to, oh, go ahead.
Because he said once that you're like advertising your talent to your employees or.
Oh, all right. Yeah, it's like we sell a service. Maybe is what maybe I actually heard that one, where we have an ability. Dubbing anime is a tricky subset of skills. You have to be a good actor. You have to have good timing and have a good ear for stuff. And people are hiring your ability and your speed, really. I mean, there are a lot of people who you could get a good performance from dubbing anime, I know as a director, but the budgets are not that big. We don't have that much time. So sometimes people ask, why do I always hear Johnny Young Bosch in so many anime? Because he's fast as hell and talented. And when we only have so much time, so much money, you have to be able to move fast. So you're sort of selling that ninja ability. Maybe that's what he meant. I don't know. I'm kind of floundering here, so I think I'm going to move to the next question. Red headband. Right there. And Naruto, you can be next.
So how many scripts would you go through? Like, how many drafts would you go through before you come up with a finalized version of the script?
It all depends on the show and how long I've been working on the show. On Bleach, Viz, who does the licenses it in the States, they're very particular. There's so many names for the swords and for the locations, and they want to keep all that in. they're very long sometimes, and it's hard to fit it into very short. A problem we run into a lot adapting scripts is that, like, either the Japanese will be like, and the person talks forever, and the translation is bread, or the reverse of that, where there will only be 3. It'll be like, that's all the flap you get, but you have to fit in supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and you can't do it. So for that show, for Bleach, they were very adamant, we have to find a way to work in the original language. So there would be a lot of drafts where I'd do 3 or 4, maybe 4 at the most. I've never done more than 4. And they would say, well, we got to have this in. And I'd say, well, we just said that a second ago, and it'll sound repetitive if we do it again. Can we just say, instead of saying his full name, can we say you here? No, we can't do that. They would come back for another draft. We sort of bat it back and forth and find a happy medium, usually closer to their side. Naruto, by my 100th episode of Naruto, it's usually like 2 drafts, just because I know we get a rhythm down, how they talk, and they just trusted us more as time went by.
So usually the finalized version is just the finalized.
Yeah, there'll be a second draft, sometimes a third, very rarely a 4th draft, and then they'll call it final. Okay, Naruto. Right in front of you, 2 seats ahead.
As the character Gara, if you were to pick a pairing, would it be a yaoi pairing or not? And who would it be with?
Pairing?
It had to be asked.
My standard answer to this is Tsunade. Because no one wants to hear it.
Really?
For the obvious reasons. Also, I'd like to say, I've gotten many drawings of Gaara and, say, Sasuke without their shirts on in coital positions. And I don't want the feds to find that on my hard drive, so please save them for yourself. I don't have a problem with it, I just don't want it on my hard drive. The CIA busts in. If I had to pick a pairing that were 2 fellas, I'd have to finalize his romance with Naruto. I'd have to. But Tsunade. The sand goes everywhere. I know. That was the line. I walked up to it, and I won't cross it. Anybody else? Oh, right here in the front row.
Who are some of your favorite voice actors?
I have a lot. I really like, how do I say this without hurting anyone else's feelings? Crispin Freeman is great. His handsome romantic man is fantastic. Nobody does that better. I like a guy called J.B. Blanc. Anybody recognize his name? He's a British actor, lives in L.A. Mary Elizabeth McGlynn was sort of my mentor when I got to L.A. Who knows who she is? Anybody? 1, 2, 3. She was the major in Ghost in the Shell. She plays, who is she in Naruto? What's her name? Female teacher, and I'm blanking on her name. Kurenai, thank you. I'm just going to rattle off names here. Lowenthal is great, fast as hell. I like Ali Hillis is a new friend of mine. She plays Lightning in Final Fantasy. Steve Bloom is a big sweetheart. Who knows Steve Bloom? Cowboy Bebop, Wolverine. He's Wolverine in everything. He's the most, for all his texture and scariness in his voice, he's the biggest sweetheart in the business. And one of my favorite jobs I ever did was working on Wolverine and the X-Men. When you work on anime dubs and most video games, you are on your own. You're in a booth. You'll have a director who'll say, okay, this guy says, I'm going to take you to hell. But you have to imagine that and you respond to that. You're on your own. But for original animation and for Wolverine and the X-Men, we were all in the room together and we were all giggling like schoolgirls because we were working on the X-Men and we're so excited to be doing so. And I sat next to Steve for most of that. Just, we called it the danger room. We're geeks. What are you guys whispering about? What's up?
You don't want to ask.
What does a giggling Wolverine sound like?
Oh, Laura Bailey is my current favorite voice actress in period. She's amazing. Who knows who Laura Bailey is? She's in everything. Shin-Chan, Everything. Google her. She's in everything. And rightfully so. She's just extremely talented, nails it right from the get-go. Anyway, next question, right there.
I was just wondering, do you find it hard to swap between characters sometimes? Because I'm just taking the ones that I know, like Lloyd as Blunt and Vincent Law and Archer. They're quite different characters, and while there is a time frame between them, do you ever find that they kind of stick with you and you find it hard to swap into another character?
Is the question, do I ever have trouble sort of dialing back into the right voice?
Well, that, and also, I'd imagine you need to have a proper frame of mind to kind of do the characters as well as you can.
Right. Well, yes, and it depends on the character. I can snap into Gara pretty easily just because I've been with him so long. There are some games, like, I don't know, Disgaea, or where I don't work on it that much. You know, there's only been 3 or 4 games, and when I come back to it, they have to play samples, and I'll say, what is he? He's a prince? He's a pirate. Well, he's a pirate, prince of pirates. And I try to remember what we did. But for things like Gara or Nightcrawler ones, it's pretty easy to snap in. And then, you know, it really is just playing. So as far as, getting into the right frame of mind, not that it doesn't take some artistry and there aren't hard days. It's really just play. I mean, I've just made a living out of what every one of you in this room did from the age of 5 to 12, which is just playing make-believe. And what you do when you play video games, you just imagine you're in that world. And I feel very lucky to be doing what I'm doing. I beat the man, and I don't have to grow up entirely. I have kids, so I have to grow up a little bit. Anybody else? Yeah. Sweet suspenders.
Could you say you were not prepared?
Okay, I don't want to blow out the mic. All right, 1 second. This might feedback on us? I don't know. Let me see. You are not prepared! I need some echo effect. Right there in the back.
What games are you playing at the moment?
I have a stack of shame. It's about 20 that are this tall that I look at. I'm fortunate to work a lot. I have 2 small children. I don't play as much as I want to or should. I used to play, 10 hours through the night. I beat Castlevania Symphony of the Night in like 2 days, and I stayed up like 12 hours through the night. That was when I was 20. Now I'm 35. But when I get back, I'm going to go buy Uncharted 3 and play that start to finish, which is not something I do, but that one I'm going to. I've started StarCraft 2. I'm in the middle of God of War 2. I am in Arkham Asylum. So I have this huge backlog of great games, and like the new ones come out, and I go, it's Skyrim. But I'm not going to buy it right away because I know I'm not going to get to it. Braid. I play a lot of sort of iPhone and iPad games because that's what when I have an hour to kill between 2 jobs, that's all I have. Anybody else? Back row there. Who's going to play Skyrim this week?
I'm right now.
Yeah, how's it?
Just went down, waited a lot, just went in, shoved the guy out of the way.
Yeah.
Turns out he was getting this gas 3 birds on even a bother, but fuck him.
Right. Well done. What race? Have you popped it in yet?
Oh, I'm right there.
Okay.
Apparently the best at stabbing stuff, and that's just cool.
I want to play. Okay, back row.
Have you introduced your children to anime?
We don't show them a ton. I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Oh, they're that young, sorry. I didn't know they were that young. I thought.
Oh, yeah. But they have seen me adapting Naruto at home. When I'm a writer, I'm just in my living room. And my son, I don't let them see the cutting bits. But when it's just 2 characters talking and staring at each other for long amounts of time, which is a lot of that show. Like, who's that, Daddy? That's Gara. He knows who Gara is. He has a Gara doll. He knows some of the other characters' names. He knows that Gara has a gourd, and he uses magic sand. It's the chibi, the little... He doesn't know the whole story.
He'll definitely protect him.
He will. He'll be a geek like me. Who's next? Anybody? Pink hair.
Can you say I'm Gara of the Funk?
Yes. I am Gara of the Funk. My underwear is full of sand. It chafes. Anybody else? Last row.
Who's the hardest person you ever had to do?
Who is the hardest character? Well, the hardest thing in voiceover that I do these days is not, I'll answer that, but the hardest thing we do is all the soldier stuff these days. I mean, I work on 3 different military-esque games a month now, it feels like. Modern Warfare 3 is coming out. When you play multiplayer and you play as a Russian, you're going to hear me yammering in your ear. And it's just like, I'm not doing it. Get down! Fighters 1 o'clock, fighters 2 o'clock. Over and over and over again, and after an hour and a half, you got no voice. And that's like twice, 3 times a month. So that's the hardest thing. Dubbing, the hardest character I ever had to do was Fukuyama, Girls Bravo. Who's seen Girls Bravo? He's a big, animated, hyperbolic pervert. And it was just screaming like a... Say again? Oh, thank you. I mean, I love doing it. It just, I was sweating and exhausted by the end. Because I was dressed in a banana suit and chasing girls. What else was hard? Yeah, that's probably the hardest. I can't think of any, like, sort of big warrior one. The games kick our butts more only because you can move a little faster, you're not going to picture, and they all have these, you do all your scenic dialogue, and then you move on to the in-game battle stuff. So it's just, all right, I need 5 variations of small pain reactions. Medium. Large. Over and over again. Over and over. So, anybody else? Oh, you had something, didn't you? We'll go here and then we'll go there.
Okay, my friend is a huge Gara ex-Rock Lee fan.
Yeah.
She was wondering, like she doesn't hear that.
Does Gara X Rock Lee mean that they're going steady? That's what the X means? Okay.
But she was wondering, could you possibly say Rock Lee looks dead sexy in spandex?
That's not the first time I've been asked to say that. What is that from? That's got to be from something then, because that's like the 3rd time. Spandex?
Yeah.
Rock Lee looks dead sexy in anything, especially spandex. Is it from the abridged or from the recesses of your crazed mind?
The dead sexy part is from Fullmetal Alchemist.
Okay. Yes, Itachi.
Who do you prefer more, Sasuke or Itachi?
Sasuke. Sasuke. Itachi's cool, but Sasuke is more conflicted and complicated and messed up. Do you mean as like a boyfriend or as a character? As a boyfriend, Itachi, because he's older. I'm not going to dip below the age line. But as a character, Sasuke is more interesting. Yes.
As a voice actor of a very popular anime, did you get the opportunity to meet like the Japanese voice actors?
I haven't met my counterparts yet. A year ago, I got hired to do voiceover in Japan. They only needed 1 actor for the whole game, which is rare, so it was actually cheaper for them to bring me out than to fly their whole team over. And it fell apart, but I contacted the Naruto team in Japan, and they were very welcoming, and were like, yeah, come by. I was going to go watch a recording session, but I was only there for 4 days, and they were recording the week before I was there and the week after, but the week that I was there, they were dark, so I was sad. No, I hope to eventually go back to Japan, though, and take them up on that offer. Anybody else?
Yeah. Of all the characters you've dubbed, which would you like to have the abilities from?
Where are you? Okay. Fukuyama? Yeah, millions of dollars and perverted magical powers. Probably Gara or Nightcrawler. I would love to be able to swing from trees and disappear and just teleport my way back to Los Angeles instead of flying. And I could teleport to some very interesting places. And then I could build a toilet out of sand if I needed to in an emergency. So.
Is there anyone from the left side of the stage that wants to ask any questions? Because I'm getting tired walking up and down these stairs.
Sorry to just ask before, but I'm an anime virgin, so I just want to ask, is there anything that you'd like to do in the future that, say, if they were listening to a podcast or something you were voicing or something, who would you say, right, big shout out, like, I want to do this, call me now?
What?
Sorry. Who would you want to do in the future?
Who would I want to voice in the future?
Yeah.
I would love to be in a Batman. I want to be in like the voice of something?
Well, if you want to say something or someone.
I don't know. I'd love to be, if this is answering the question right, I'm not sure if I am. Sorry if I'm not. I'd love to be in any of the Warner Brothers Batman stuff. I know I wouldn't be Batman. I don't have the voice for Batman, but he could punch me in my face. That would be an honor. And then if they were ever to make a third dub of Akira, I've always loved Tetsuo. Love Tetsuo. I have a question. Who knows who Patrick Seitz is in this room? Does anyone know the voice actor Patrick Seitz? This is Damien from the staff. Does anyone know what he looks like? Does Damien not look exactly like Patrick Seitz? Alright, sorry.
The only one.
Anybody, yes, down here in front?
Do you know the bit in the original Naruto when Sasuke and Gaara are fighting against each other and Gaara's in his big sand? No.
Yeah, when he's in his ball.
Yeah, that.
Blood, my blood.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Can you, wait, hold on.
Oh, you're asking me to do that?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Sure, alright. Blood. My blood! Great, Liam, that was great. We're just going to go 3 more times. If you go a little bit bigger on this next one, that'd be perfect. There's nobody over here again, so you in the back row. Sorry, Damien.
Which one? No, it's okay. I don't need mine.
Yeah.
Is there any project you've worked on which you thought was going to be huge, going to be really, really popular, that you kind of put your all into and it totally flopped? Same kind of like hidden gems.
I think that no one cared about?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was a flop, but I loved working on a game called Nier.
Yay!
It wasn't a flop. It just, went under the radar. It's a very unique Japanese game. I played a floating book, a snooty, sort of British, it was just really funny dialogue, and my traveling companions in the game were this older father character, tragic hero called Nier, and then a transvestite or transgender demon. Laura Bailey voiced this, what looked like a totally gorgeous woman who was supposedly a dude trapped in a woman's body, and she just swore at the book the whole time. He got prissy. I wish more people that was on their radar. I also wish Wolverine and the X-Men, which was really well received, made it to past season 1. They got all the budget together, I'm told, for 23 of 24, or something like. They had all the funding for all but 2 of the episodes, and then they pulled it. Anybody else? Kat.
Very important question. When you watch anime, do you watch it as subs or dubs?
Oh, I don't have one. I don't have one choice. I'm not like a loyalist to my English-speaking actors. I love, just take Naruto for example. There are performances, I'm not going to say which ones. I love way more in the Japanese than in the English, and there's ones that I like way more in the English than in the Japanese. There's roles like Naruto in the show. I love both of those women's performance as Naruto. I think they're brilliant in the roles. When I started watching anime, it was mostly subtitles, just because that was mostly what's around. And then as I started working in the business, I probably leaned a little more into the dubs, just so I could learn about the people I was working with. And now I change diapers and have no time. So That's where I'm at. What about you guys? Dubs or subs? Hands up for subs. Alright, well, that's the third choice. So you can only pick one of the three. Hands up for subs. Hands down. Hands up for dubs. Hands up for both. Alright, that's fair. That's fair.
Depends on the anime.
Say what?
It depends on the anime.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Cowboy Bebop, if you're not listening to Wendy Lee and Steve Bloom, what are you doing? Right here in the front.
What was it like working on Resident Evil 5? Because that was acted out properly. So it was much harder than usual.
Yeah, that was hard in different ways. There was no match the flap. That was like a multi-layered process. There were three sort of passes on all the cinematic stuff. They did, that company, which is called Just Cause, I have a good relationship with them, they did what they call the video storyboard version first, which is they hired actors to get dressed. All the outfits and stuff you saw in Resident Evil 5, they dressed their actors on set like that. They made sort of faux sets around them, and they shot it, and they were able to say, hey Capcom, do you like this angle? How about that? And Capcom would go, yeah, no, yeah. Then they mocapped it all, which I didn't have anything to do with the first two steps. They then put on the GIMP suits, which I'm sure you guys have all seen by now, with the little balls all over them, and they recreated, for the most part, with some adjustments and tweaks, what they did. And then for the third pass, the voiceover pass, which is where I came in, they would use sometimes the same actors, sometimes a new actor. Like for the part of Chris Redfield in that, they had Ruben Langdon, who actually owns Just Cause and is a great actor. A great physical actor, especially, did Chris Redfield for all the live action, half of it. And then for the voice, they brought in Roger Craig Smith, who's the voice of Ezio, as well. And he would have to come in, and we would have a long movie. He'd have dots all over his face and a microphone in front of him, and we would have to do like 30. Normally for voiceover you do a line at a time, or maybe 2 lines at a time, because you can laser in and get it exactly the way you want. But we were getting people's facial expression locked to their voice for that, so they would have to do 30 to 40 seconds of scene and nail each moment exactly, matching the motion capture actor. If he was going like this, it would have to be like, I'm gonna kill you, and match all that. So it was really tricky to get 40 seconds in a row perfect or near perfect. If the vocal performance was great, but he went like this, then we'd have to burn it. If his face looked like really tough, but his voice cracked somewhere, we'd have to burn it. So it was very painstaking and slow, but cool, because it was like a film set, really. There was like 30 people surrounding the actor to squeeze out just a little bit of Resident Evil. How many Resident Evil fans in here? Okay. Anybody else? Who hasn't asked a question? You, Blue.
You did Akihiko in Persona 3.
I did.
Could you do a voice for me?
I think he just sounded like this, didn't he?
Deeper.
Was it deeper? That's been a while, I guess. Did it sound like this? He talked a lot about boxing, and I wish I was that cool in high school. Oh well. Oh, nice Sonic hat. There were a couple here. First suspenders, and then not suspenders.
Just not suspenders.
Is there any role that just killed your voice as soon as you tried it?
As soon as I tried it?
Yeah, pretty much. Right.
Right from the get-go. I did some incidental monstery things on World of Warcraft that when I auditioned, I was like, I could do this. I went, which doing that for a minute is fine, but doing it for an hour is, painful. I think I did something like that for the Thor video game that recently came out. I played like a fire demon and something called a Skraeling, and that cut me in half. Probably, it's always monstery stuff like that. I've learned to, I still do, because I love all this stuff. So like if I think, I could do a totally cool, weird, Gollum voice or something for this, I'm going to do it. But I've learned that those are going to destroy me, so I pick and choose a little more. Yeah.
Have you ever done anything where you just, as soon as you start, you knew straight away, this is an absolute load of shit? the whole thing was shit.
Yes, I have.
Name names. Give me names.
I'll never work again. Anybody else? L.
Yeah, I was wondering, what is like either the most embarrassing or funniest? What is the most embarrassing or funniest thing that's ever happened in a booth to you or someone that you've worked with?
Okay, first job ever, Boogie Pop Phantom. It seemed to be going okay, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I hadn't learned booth etiquette or careful not to pop your peas and all these little things that you pick up along the way. And we got to a line in the episode where usually a line is just this much. Well, I'm going to go down to the store and I'm going to buy some bread. And that's all we're going to do. But occasionally, the character will be animated to talk for like he'll just go, and he's not breathing. But we need to like do this long, go, well, I'm going to go buy some bread and then I'm going to go buy the pinball arcade. I'm going to play some pinball. I'm going to keep talking and talking and just keep going until I run out of breath, and hopefully I won't skid out and make a fool of myself, and I'll just keep going. And boy, I'd really like to inhale right now, but I can't because I got to keep talking and keep going and going and going. It was one of those. It was my first one, and they're hard to do, I've learned later. And I was making my way through it, and I somehow screeched across the finish line on a take one. This is my first voiceover job ever, and I go, phew, and I'm already thinking, okay, how can I do that again? And there's normally a glass window between you and the director, and I'm already looking at the script and thinking, all right, for take two, how am I gonna, and out of nowhere, a hand goes, boom, on the glass, and I go, like that, and I look, and this guy was a little crazy. His hand was pressed to the glass, and there was a little Post-it that said FB on it, and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if I was getting fired or pranked or what. And then I'm going to have to bleep this, but I just went, brilliant! So in 1 second, I just about pooped my pants, thought I was getting fired, and was being given a compliment. That's the weirdest thing. Yep, you.
Other people have asked you to do lines, but what would be your favorite line that you have to say?
My new favorite is one that I just did, so I can't tell you. No. It's in a property that you're not supposed to know exists, so I can't do it. No, I can't. Here's an old one. Those who live by porn will one day die by porn. And then I played Air Raid. I played one of the jets in the War for Cybertron. And I grew up watching Transformers as a kid. And I was recording. I was thrilled to get the job. And then halfway through the session, I got to the line. The line was, Optimus, look out. And it was, Optimus! Optimus! It took me like 9 or 10 times just to say it because I'm a Transformer. Anybody else? Boom.
Which character from Who You've Done are you most like?
Most actually like sound like personality. Personality. Probably either Paranoia Agent. Did anyone see Paranoia Agent? Detective Maniwa in that, or Dr. Tenma in Monster. Who's watched Monster? Okay, those two. They're not as like wildly known as some of the other stuff I've done, but they're human, first of all. They don't have any ninja powers, and they're very close to my own voice, and I get hired to sort of stretch and go away. Like, there's guys like Troy Baker and Yuri Lowenthal their voice sounds great, or Roger or Craig Smith. They have like deep, resonant voices. They're great for a leading man, but I get asked to like stretch and go up here or down there or act weird. But those were two where they wanted more of a tenor, and I just got to, walk in and not really change anything, just be myself for those two. Okay, right back there again.
I guess this would apply to when you're directing, maybe modifying scripts, and also when you're doing voice acting. There's many times in anime, and I guess games as well, where you can't see the character's face, you can't see their lips moving. Are you tempted to kind
we do that all the time. Yeah, we do that all the time. In fact, I mean, my favorite actors, when I'm directing, will, like every 10th line, try to sabotage me with something. And face or no face, I mean, when we're dubbing anime, you know, we'll do like a take 1, take 2, take 3 will be about bananas in my bum. You know, so you know, if you get the rhythm down to it like a dub line, you're like, it goes ba 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 ba. There's bananas in my freaking bum. It makes the days go by a little quicker sometimes. Anybody else? What time? How much time we got left? We got a wrap. Two more questions. Okay, we're gonna go. You have not asked a question, and okay, everyone else. All right, so we'll go with you.
Out of all of the roles that you've done, what story of the anime or game order have you preferred the most?
What's my favorite story then?
Yeah.
I liked Afro Samurai Resurrection a lot. If any of you saw that, I played like my character was an homage to Lone Wolf and Cub. He was this guy with a kid. Didn't end well for him. I like that one. I love the story in Naruto, not the fillers. And Monster, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's just like this long, drawn-out sort of psychological drama. And it was nice to be with one character for 70 episodes and not be yelling, "Prism explosion!" or "Frag out!" for once. It was good character work. Okay, and one more. You've asked a few. By the way, if anyone wants to ask me more questions after this, or if I'm here tomorrow, so if you've got a burning question, you can definitely hit me up with it later, too. If I don't get to you, we'll go with... You asked a couple, so we'll go with Itachi again.
If someone at where you work shouted out, "I'm gonna kill you," and came to hug you, what would you think? If someone at work came to you and shouted, "I'm gonna kill you," and came and hugged you, what would you think?
And hugged me?
Yeah.
If someone said they were going to kill me and then hugged me, it all depends on the person, man. I would make space between us, and then I would get in my car and I would drive away. Unless it was Tsunade. Then I would just hug back. Okay, so that's a wrap, Damien?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. All right, well, guys, I'll be here tomorrow if you want to ask me questions. If you want to accost me in the halls, you can ask me a question. Thank you for coming. I hope you gleaned something from all the yammering. Enjoy the con.